think I look so dark? Oh, yeah, because I'm Indian.
Anyway, we are in a Nissan Navara VL spec.
Wait, I wanted to do the introduction.
Okay, no.
Autophiles in a Mercedes X-Class.
Actually, I understand why Mercedes chose this chassis.
Yeah, because they have a long-term partnership with Nissan.
Other than the long-term partnership, if they have a partnership with Toyota and then Toyota presented them a Hilux, Mercedes will be like, how do I tell them? So we're in Nissan Navara.
Navara NP300. It's a VL Plus, I think.
Which is relatively high spec, I presume.
Yes.
This model is actually quite old.
It is. I remember
4 years.
One of the first pickup truck launches that I attended, and when they launched the car, they took us off-roading with this car.
Oh, okay.
And I think they completely missed the point.
What do you say they missed the point?
I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to preempt anyone who's saying that this kind of suspension not suitable for off-roading.
Okay.
But what they should have done is
show you how good it is on the road.
The only time I realized how good it was on the road was about a year later. Petronas had an event and they used this car. I fell asleep.
Oh wow! What at the back?
No, in front.
In front.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's at the back, it will be impressive, man.
Yeah. It has rear aircon vent, which was also one of the
so good.
Yeah. Now the new Triton has, but it's more of a blower on the top. I think this was one of the few, if not the only, regular pickup trucks that actually does the drive in a way where we can appreciate.
It was shocking actually, but I have a bit of expectation actually, because I knew Navara respected its passenger a little bit more than all the other pickups, because they bothered to give you coil springs at the back. So I had some expectation, and here's the best part: I was blown out of my mind after I got in here. Stay tuned to find out what blew my mind.
My first impressions when I got back in the car and started driving it again,
because after all that context, right? After the Ranger Raptor, after the FJ, after all this discussion about Land Cruisers,
and also after driving a ton of inferior pickups. Okay. When I started driving this, I was like, wow, pleasantly surprised. The more time I spend in the car, the more I like it.
Right.
But yeah, one or two things still bother me. Of course.
I mean, being a Nissan product, they can't give you a great product in that scores B+ in every aspect. Yeah. They can give you A in like 8 out of 10 aspect, and 2 of them would fail. Yeah. See how a soft roader tried to avoid a hole? Yeah. Let's go through it. Oh. Whoa! It feels so good! Most Malaysian treat pickups as number 1, a daily car. Number 2, a semi-family car. So to me, load capacity is secondary. Load capacity in terms of volume is good, great. Everybody loves a big boot. Yeah. But load capacity in terms of weight is secondary. Alright? More importantly is passenger comfort and amenities. I personally find that to be more important. Most pickup I've driven fail on this regard. Until I step in here, I'm like, what the hell, man? I could daily this car with a few modifications. I am very pleasantly surprised. Yeah, so let's go into performance. Yeah. Alright, Nerd Boy, what's the figures?
Okay, from what I can remember, it's a 2.5 litre inline 4 diesel
turbo.
The gearbox is a 7-speed.
What?
Automatic.
Oh, don't tell me they took it from Mercedes-Benz.
I don't think it's a 7G. Yeah.
Even the XLT Ranger has a 10-speed.
10-speed. So now
from the Mustang.
Yeah. Now it's no longer impressive. But I think when it came out and until last year, this was the top.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially coming from Japan, right?
Yeah. It was quite surprising, but it just fell under the radar for some reason. Anyway, it's got like 180 horsepower. I think almost 190.
Which is respectable.
Respectable.
For diesel turbo inline 4.
For 2.5 especially, it's actually quite good.
But the torque!
The torque is
that's worth,
man.
Whoa, 450 Newton meter. But I have to say, it doesn't feel like a 450.
It doesn't. And also, when you contextualize it, Triton is about 420. Hilux is also around there, but with a bigger engine.
Well, we need to mention about its suspension setup. Coil springs at the rear.
Yes.
Multi-link.
Multi-link in the rear.
Wow. Body on frame. Yes. Leather chassis. Some of the best off-roaders are still built based on this chassis, and they are very comfortable. Yeah. So leather chassis doesn't equate discomfort.
What do you think about the
engine performance? We need to talk a little bit. We need to sit down and this is a parent-teacher meeting. Now here's the thing. You see, at the low end, that's where it's worse. In the city, it's almost clunky because the first 1000 RPM,
it's nothing.
Nothing's happening. It feels like there's no torque whatsoever. Where is the 450 Newton meter? And the engine is so reluctant below 1000 RPM. Then you have a sudden surge after you reach about 1008. Once you get up to speed, the engine is very lively.
Yeah.
That's the keyword, lively. I'm not saying it's powerful because it still doesn't feel like a 450 Newton meter. Because a 450 Newton meter of torque vehicle will push you back into your seat like that.
Yeah.
It is not a slow car, but it does not reflect a 450 Newton meter diesel engine.
Yeah, this is true. And another thing that annoyed me was how disconnected the acceleration and your input feels, because the engine is trying to go up to its peak torque as soon as you start touching the accelerator pedal, but then you don't feel anything coming from the engine, and then you don't feel what you're doing with your right leg is corresponding to the tachometer.
Right.
It is very
disconnected. I personally think it's something that can be solved with tuning.
Yeah.
Maybe they purposely mellow it down. That is a possibility. To be honest, the weakest link here is the engine or the power delivery.
Yeah, I feel it could be the gearbox, because the figures can't be
if figures can't simply cheat, right? Something is definitely amiss. It feels like 290 Newton meter of torque, 180 horses. And let's recap. Engine does not feel as torquey as it is claimed. I came in from the FJ and it has 400 Newton meter of torque, and it has less torque than this, and that thing was pushing me back on my seat. And this one I don't feel it at all. Something is amiss to me.
Right.
And number two, initial urban speed, especially taking off speed, performance of this engine is very poor.
It's a shame because once you get to 80 and you cruise, the engine just goes quiet.
The tuning problem, isn't it? Nissan, you could have fixed this.
Yeah.
Why, you want to sell it for 180,000, is it? Just say lah. I call it what? The Nismo version. Ride quality. Let's talk about this a bit.
Yeah.
Wow. This is where we go from the poorest performance to the absolute most impressive.
This is it's an everyday pickup.
Yeah.
Which, look at it.
Look at that.
It's so good.
You barely felt it and you only hear it actually noticeably.
Yes.
That's
which
all.
is really good for a pickup truck.
Yeah. The on-road behavior is not car-like. I cannot call it car-like.
Yeah.
It's not. It is soft enough to handle most undulation, but it is hard enough to never bottom out. It's so impressive, I tell you. It's so impressive. Comfort, excellent.
We can talk about now the steering, because I think this is where we kind of differ in opinion. Remember the Ranger?
Yeah.
The Ranger was practically one finger
Triton is so vague.
This one, I really like it because it feels the most real.
My only complaint is that it is not variable in its weight. It's always a little bit too heavy, generally, but I don't mind when you're speeding. When you're speeding down the road in the highway. And it's good, like this right now.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good steering for a pickup. But when you're driving slow and you're trying to maneuver out of parking and it's still that heavy, I think it shouldn't be lah.
If you're living with it day to day, it will be bad. It creates a kind of dual personality, because on the one hand you have the suspension, which is made for more comfort, and then you have the steering, which is made to be more like a traditional pickup.
In terms of ride and handling, I give this car a 4.5 out of 5. If you talk about engine performance, I will have to give it a 3 out of 5. 3 because it is okay. It is not as commercial sounding as I thought it would be.
Right.
But it is not genuine in terms of its feeling, of its power.
People who drive this and then go and drive a Ranger, I think they might be more impressed by the Ranger, because the Ranger gearbox and engine setting is perfect, but the suspension here is genuinely good.
Impressive. It's lovely. Overall, I give it a performance of 4 out of 5.
Overall 4 out of 5. It's fair. It's fair.
You know, I never expect to say this. In a pickup truck, the harshness goes away. Dude,
The design. When it first came out, the one problem I had with this look was that it didn't feel like a new pickup. You know, when Hilux came out, it looked genuinely different. And when the Triton came out,
the Mark III
also looks so modern, so modern. D-Max, okay, aging a little bit. But in Thailand, the new one looks nice. The Ranger looks perfect.
The Ranger is good looking.
Embodiment of pickup truck. Tough looking.
It's not. F-150 is the F1.
The Navara, when it came out, it was, I think, the only Japanese pickup truck which didn't really evolve the look. Even though it had all these things, you know, like market first, 7-speed gearbox, market first, coil springs at the back, market first, orange in a Japanese pickup, I think market first. They didn't evolve the look enough. Then the interior was typical Nissan, very curvy,
very odd.
So I look at this and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the Uncle design,
Almera
design. Then when I got back in here the second time, and the more I test cars, the more I start to appreciate Nissan. This is genuinely just getting sick of German lines.
Oh yeah.
And getting sick of pretension, fake premium, and over chroming in Japanese cars. I start to appreciate why Nissan do some things. Of course, they don't do things perfectly. I still have loads of complaints. But using a satin finish of grey is actually nice.
Yeah,
I prefer it over chrome.
Yeah. Chrome accents should be very thin.
And then uniformity of interior colour. You want to use orange and white? Okay, orange and white, everything.
They don't entirely suck, the interior.
Yeah, it doesn't suck.
It's not amateurish.
You know, big useful spaces, storage spaces. That sometimes down here your whole phone can fit.
Yeah, man, this is quite good, man.
Yeah. Down here in the middle, you can stuff things in. Your center box, even
Cup
though
holders is in the right place. You know?
There's real thought that goes into the design, and even the power windows. The first time I saw Nissan power windows, I nearly laughed. I think it just looks damn cheap. Then I realized Nissan do it just to make it easy.
Oh, okay.
It's just thick and a nice feeling plastic.
Chunky, But I do think that the build quality in a Toyota is a little bit better.
Yes, definitely. You can see parts that are chafing off like that button.
This is a typical problem with Nissan. They have always been more adventurous when it comes to interior, but they tend not to be as reliable.
I still think the Ranger is a solid 4. Even the regular XLT Plus, that's a 4. Because you know, big screen, touch screen, all that. This one doesn't even have a touch screen. It's still a traditional button.
And quite small as well. I mean, spec-wise is amazing when you have reverse camera and then you have 360 camera, but the display is just too small for it to be effective. Half the time I'm squinting to see what the heck is going on. To be honest, I think it's a very handsome pickup. But it has gone under the radar. For what reason, I don't know. This Nissan is not an ugly car. Give it to somebody with a bit of a flair. They could have reduced the headlight size maybe. Make it a little bit more integrated. Give it a face that is a little bit more shouty. And I think it could have been a very good looking car because all the design of a pickup is all in the face. It could have gone a lot more aggressive. You look at how Ranger does the wild track. And you look at how Nissan does the... You see that one is a bit of an amateur when it comes to dressing things up.
So looks for me 3.5.
I'll give it a 3.5 as well. Value. Let's guess the price. Okay. A reasonable pickup now would be somewhere around 120 or to 130. This one is called a Black Series. I will not...
Full spec VL Plus.
I would say this is 134.
This is 119.
Holy shit, I was so far off. I'm 15,000 of 119. Value 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5, man. Buy this pickup truck now. Okay, Autophiles out.
Here is the Ranger Raptor. Here. This car is right here.
Okay, that's
it's not halfway down, it's right here. But it's halfway down in price. Value is 5 out of 5, so this is a solid 4.5 out of 5, man.
Very impressive.
Howie, you should drive this, man.
Okay, Autophiles signing up.
What is Diablo?
That's Isuzu D-Max with a trim.
Giving me the shit, huh?
Because it's the Diablo. Look at me, I got 3-litre engine.
We lose, man. I can see the power difference. I can really see the power difference. I feel challenged by El Diablo.
Don't stoop down to this level. He drives a pickup truck and he has a P license. Something is wrong. This is his first car.